Hello everyone, this is Melanie from Melanie B's Creative Studio, and welcome to another episode of Schipper Sunday. Now last weekend I had to skip it because I had a migraine, so I rested, and once in a while that's probably going to happen. So I apologize for having to skip it, but I came back with a brand new release, and I hope this one excites you as much as it does me because it is my first ever Polyptych. And you're probably going, what? Okay, so when 3 panels is a triptych, 5 panels is a Polyptych. In German, they say it a little bit different, and it's written down here, and I don't even attempt to say that, but a 5 panel is a Polyptych. And you might hear it pronounced a little differently in different languages, but that is how it's pronounced here in English. So we're gonna have 5 different panels. I have not opened up the actual panels yet, but I have opened the paint and I've already swatched the palette so that I could have that part done for us. This one is going to be overall a 132 centimeter by a 72 centimeter. And I will find somewhere in the screen to put the conversion to inches for us. This is a new release, as I mentioned in the beginning, for the fall autumn of 2021, and they did send me this piece, and I was so excited because when I saw their new releases on the website before we even started collaborating together, this is one of the ones that I really wanted. So there were about 6 or 7 kits that I wanted, and I didn't tell them which ones I wanted, but this was one of them. So I'm like, they really knew my style apparently. So let's get this open and let's take a look at how these panels are put together in this kit, because this is a very large box. This is about the size of the Manhattan one that I brought you before. So let's open this up and let's take a look at what's inside and how it's packaged. Okay, so right off the bat, you're gonna notice this is packaged way differently than other canvas panels that I've received and shown you in previous videos for Schipper. This is sealed in a very secure, thick envelope. Let me flip it. It's marked with the contents here. It says World. There are some glue dots that were left here. I have already pulled off the paint kits, as I mentioned, and they're underneath. So what I'm going to do is, before I open the canvas panels and take a look at that, I'm going to show you the paints and the other contents, and then we're going to come back to the panels. Okay, so there were some pretty significant differences in this kit than the others that I have brought you before. So let's discuss that. In one of the packages, there were the first round of paints, and I opened that one up and I went ahead and applied the stickers as I've shown you in a lot of the prior videos that I've done about Schipper. You're going to use the reference guide that is in the package with the paints, and you're going to use the number sequence they provided. If I hadn't paid attention to this, I would not have noticed that the stickers only go up to number 35. Then we're going to have the duplicates starting with number 2. So we're going to have a lot of duplicate colors starting here, and there's number 2, number 2, number 2, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4. And so you see what I'm saying. I had to be paying attention to how to number these, because if I hadn't been, I wouldn't have known these are all duplicates of all the colors I'm going to need a lot of. So you make sure you pay attention to that when you pull out your reference guide and before you number. A lot of people ask, why aren't they numbered? As much as I pay for Schipper kit, why aren't they numbering them? That's because they mass produce their kits and they don't have time for to have somebody coming in and putting these number stickers on. Otherwise, the price would probably be higher. I'm okay with numbering them myself. Okay, so here's the other thing, and then I've got empty paint pots. As I've said in the past, I love their paint pots. So I like to cut these off and use these for other projects. That's just me. But on your reference guide here, it'll say leer, which is German for empty, which it does tell you that means empty, okay? So here I'm gonna have my reference guide, which is a thicker booklet than normal. so that I have a reference for each panel. There's one for every single panel in all 5. So both sides. In addition to that, I also had an extra booklet that I had not seen before. And we're going to talk about the paints in a little bit and how they swatch. So I'll come back to that. And this was different. This shows you how you can connect the 5 panels together. It gives you complete instructions for how to do that. Otherwise, I might be going, okay, now what? You know, what do I do with these 5 panels? Now that I've got them this far, what's my plan? They've given us the instructions for what to do once we get to that point, which I think is fabulous. Then we also have measurements on the back that tell us how to make sure it's all lined up perfectly. So they've taken an extra step here and made sure that we have all of the proper measurements, and all of this now, I'm just going to tell you, is in millimeters, which is easily converted to centimeters or inches. Go online to Google. All you have to do, I do this all the time, is type 271 millimeters to inches, and it will pop up a conversion, and it will show you exactly what that is in inches, feet, however it needs to convert for you. All right, so now let's move the paints aside. Let's pull out the panels. Let's take a look at that, and then we'll come back to the swatches and the paints and discuss this palette. They're all numbered for our reference on each one, so that we do not have any issues of how to lay them out once we're done with them. Now, I would recommend, since you're going to be painting over this, if you feel the need, I mean, you'll know once you're done, but if it makes you feel better on the back of the board to write which panel it is, just so you know once you're done. You might be one of those people that failed world geography, you know? One of those people on those videos that they say, name the 7 continents, and you're sitting there going, South Carolina, you know. I don't judge. I'm not gonna lie, I won't judge you. As I've discussed in prior Schipper videos, we do know that they're on boards. They're not canvases, but they use a very thick board, so it's thicker than the other paintings that are printed on boards, and they have a very unique texture to them. I do clear gesso my Schippers, but there is a very specific technique to that. Please see my video about it. Don't go slap clear gesso on this without watching that video, please, okay? The other thing is they use a very warm gray line and number, which I find very easy to cover with paints, especially their paints. One thing I did love about this particular painting, it is not a super detailed painting as a turnout because it didn't need to be. It is our world. It is bright and colorful, but it doesn't have to be a super detailed finished piece because it is designed to be the chunks of countries and things and continents. So there's not going to be a lot of time invested in each panel. I mean, that's what I thought was fabulous about it, but it's going to be colorful and it's going to be the beautiful natural tones mixed with the beautiful bright colors that I love too. So I felt like this is a family project. You give each person a panel, you say have fun with this one, and you can complete this in no time. I just love this piece so much, and I feel like this is something that Ashlyn and I would attempt to do together and have up on the wall, just in the family room. I would love to have this in the family room. And if not, maybe even in the playroom, because I just love this piece. So I'm not gonna go into necessarily looking at each panel. I mean, we can look at the largest one. It is gonna be obviously number 3, which is the one in the middle. Each of the panels is about 10 1/4 in width, and the length of the highest panel is about 28 inches. So it's not huge in height, but it will be in width once you put them all 5 together. But again, I'm loving this piece. Very unique piece. So I'm going to put these back into the protective envelope, and we're going to take a look at the palette for this because it is fabulous. Okay, so let's talk about this fabulous palette. Of course, you're going to be seeing all of these bright rainbow colors that always appeal to me. But we also have beautiful neutrals. And that is what I loved about this piece, because not only do we have this gorgeous group of rainbow, but we basically have every, you know, kind of color that exists. So we have all of these beautiful tans and browns and natural colors and like gray greens here, but we literally have like every color of the rainbow, which is why this is called Colorful World. And so we have the burnt orange, you know, and different shades and tones of orange with the deep yellows, and then like an olive green, but then we also have the bright greens. So I just loved the palette. So for those of you who love the more earth tone colors, this has got those in there as well. But then we've also got the colors that I love, which are more on the bright side. So this just kind of threw all of those into one painting. How much happiness and joy does that bring? Like, oh, it's almost like they said, this one literally brings all of us together, which, you know, to me implies colorful world brings us all together, and happiness and peace. So I love that. And harmony, right? Gotta throw some harmony in there. So you noticed, and I didn't bring all the palette out here, but I'm gonna do that. Let me turn them upside down here. You notice that we have tons of paint. So all of that background that is going to be the neutral, warm, and browns and tans, we have sufficient amount of paint to take care of us. So that is not going to be an issue. We don't have to worry about running out. And you guys, Schipper takes care of us. I do want to mention in the next video I do for Schipper Sunday, be watching for that, because I'm going to tell you what to do if you get paints that are thick. And I know I've kind of talked about that in a prior video, but I'm going to tell you what to do if they are almost completely dried up, if you need to reach out to Schipper, if you need to get new paints, how to go about doing that. All right. As far as transparent or translucent, one, of course, the same one. It's always white, you know, that little booger. And the only other one I'm seeing that's translucent is 9, which we come to expect. 11 is slightly translucent. I'm a little on the fence with that one, because now that I'm in the light, I can see that I just kind of, I didn't even get a good swatch on that one. But, you know, that could have just been me. So 3, 4 colors, maybe, out of 35. And I'm okay with that. This is a beautiful palette with a, you know, pretty large range of colors. So I'm going to be prepared for that. Because I put down a little light layer of clear gesso, it holds the paint so much more beautifully anyway that I always get better coverage than whatever's on my palette. And I want you guys to know, a lot of you who swatch your paints on these swatch guides, I do a couple of things, because I notice a lot of times I get a better swatch than what you get when you swatch. I do several things. First of all, I don't print on regular paper. I print on a matte presentation paper. The reason I do that is because plain paper absorbs the paint and it doesn't give me a true swatch, because canvas doesn't absorb paint. And Schipper paintings don't absorb paint. So my surface, no matter what I'm painting on, doesn't absorb paint like a plain piece of paper does, and neither does this surface, and that is why I do it. I print on this particular paper. You don't have to do that, but you'll get a more accurate representation on a better paper than if you do it on a plain paper. Also, we'll get a better representation if you use a flat brush to swatch with, like I've been doing, than a round brush where you're going to have a bunch of streaks, because people are going to look at their swatch and go, oh, my paints are horrible, and they're going to start to prep for paints on their canvas that they don't need to go and prep for. So you're going to spend more time prepping on your canvas, possibly for paints that are not going to cause you trouble like you think they will. For an example, if I used a round brush here on number 9, I'm going to see that gray little paint pot line pretty well, because I'm going to have streaky paint. And I'm going to be like, oh no, I'm going to have to do all kinds of crazy stuff for number 9. But when reality, it's only because I didn't use the proper brush to swatch with. I didn't put it on the right paper. And so I'm seeing something worse than what it really was. If that makes sense. All right, so if you're interested in where to get the swatch guide, I'll put a link here. And in the description below, there's always going to be a link for the swatch guide. I will also link you to this kit wherever I can find it. Usually I'm having to link you straight to the Schipper website because these are very difficult to find, but I love their stuff. So, you know, hopefully you can find it. You guys, I hope you've enjoyed this Schipper Sunday. Stay tuned for next weekend for another Schipper Sunday and another new painting that we will take a closer look, and I'll give you some more information about how to revive paints that might have gotten too set up and how to contact them if you have any paint trouble. Thank you as always for joining me. Be sure to join me on Patreon, on Facebook, and all of my other social media. I will leave you some links in the bottom for those as well. And I will see you back soon.